Hey guys,
Hello.
and welcome back to another episode of
Making Musically
Musically
Challenged.
from my closet still. It's fine.
This might just be a thing. It's just
It's fine. It makes me like keep my closet clean-ish, so that's a
emphasis
plus.
on the ish.
So,
Anyways, this week we're going to be talking about the goblins.
the goblins.
Do you want to start?
So the goblins live in Trilken. And if you're following along the map, which is in the lookbook section of our website, musicallychallengedshow.com.
And if you're watching the YouTube video, will be posted on screen now.
Yes. So you can find the map in the lookbook section of any of the creatures as we're posting. So if the creature's not been talked about, the lookbook's not going to be up yet. Anyway, so if you're looking at the map, the goblins are they're in the hill section of the mountain. So if you're looking at the mountains in the top left corner of the Harmonian Isles, right below the mountains to the right is a little city, and that would be Trilken. So Trilken has got the mountains behind them, and they have basically water surrounding that little section that they're in. That's the goblin territory.
Yes, so they are super close to the dwarves and the fairies. The fairies living in the hills below them, and the dwarves living in the mountains kind of above them.
They live in the hills to the left of them, not below them.
Oh, that's right. Never mind.
Yes.
Sorry.
So, and then the daemons are kind of like across the pond to the right of them. So, and then the orcs are across the pond to the bottom of them. So it's just kind of like a whole like, they're mostly just surrounded by water and mountains and hills.
Mm-hmm. These are large bodies of water. There's not just like a
little pond. No, it's a big body of water. It's the two of the bodies of water that they're surrounded by do not connect to the ocean. However, one does. So it's just kind of like, yeah. They have a lot of options for that sort of stuff.
Yes, and we will get into history a little bit later. So let's talk about the goblins themselves. So let's see.
You can go into like their design and
yeah, we'll go into design. All right, so goblin design, especially when it comes to clothes, accessories, architecture, are all based on 1950s American styles. Not a great time period, but it's a very unique style. I like this style a lot. Like there's a range of styles during that time. And I like the dresses, I like the greaser look, I can do a lot with it because it's very much during that time was the Industrial Revolution.
It was like a little after
right?
the Industrial Revolution, I believe.
Yeah, well,
don't add us. History wasn't our forte. We're
No.
Americans. We weren't taught correct history in schools.
They have this very much that like industry like style when it comes to a lot of worker clothes or business kind of suits.
And now there's a reason behind that too,
yes,
which we'll get to in a second.
That's not how they started out.
They started out very much a kind of like a thieving community.
Yes.
Because they're surrounded by so many like natural resource areas, they take from those areas, even though these areas are populated by other people groups. So like I said, we've got the fairies, the dwarves, the daemons, and the orcs that all surround them. So they started out, they were very much like an inventive community, but they didn't have anything in their own territory, so they had to go and
Steal
take
stuff
from others. So they started out as very much a thieving, like a
how do you call it?
Like a mobster mentality in a way.
Yeah,
very much like we said, the 1950s, like
kind of like
greaser, like
yeah,
snapping kind of. Like, I'm just picturing, like, is it West Side Story, or like, one of those musicals where there's that whole, like, battle scene where they're, like, dancing and snapping.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember what it's called.
I don't know. But yeah. That's kind of the style we're going for with them.
And with the politics concerned, the person in power was, like, the one who had the most influence and the most power, just based off, like, taking control. And so, like, they would switch leaders fairly often.
It was very much whoever can take control is in control. So if you were in control, your life was usually in danger.
Pretty much.
But people wanted that control because then at that point you had the most resources to do whatever you wanted to with. And like we stated, they're very much an inventive community. So you're going to see
Now, a lot of the inventions that we do end up seeing happen after the Great Key Change, but some of the inventions did come before that. One of which was a little bit of the transportation. So the
Like-
goblins were the ones who actually invented our current airships. Now, they've obviously evolved a bit over time, but they're the ones who came up with it because before that, they kind of were like pirates where they would have to like sail out to the different territories to steal from them. However, they realized that water isn't always the best option to go with and that they could cover more ground and also swoop in a lot more undetected if they came from the air. So that's when they invented the airships.
And we kind of are taking a look at their village. Yes, it's like the 50s style, but it's also like
It's a little bit of a slummy area. It's not. There are parts of it that are nicer because
steampunk dystopian 50s style.
yeah, that's how it starts out, and then it kind of evolves a little bit into a more like
50s gentrification.
yeah. So like the goblins are a majority, kind of like our modern day middle class in a sense.
They are like the working class. Some of them,
Some of them
depending
do
on their
are a bit
status,
more high
can be
up,
like
but-
an upper class, but for the most part, these are very much the working class
Mm-hmm.
community.
Yes. So for the territory, the little snippet I'm gonna have showing up for like the lookbook portion, I did, since they are right next to the mountains. Some of their buildings are like melded to the side of the mountains. Like the territory's massive, but this is the one closest to where the doors is. You'll see a large, like just a row of 1950 style apartments. It's that old, like
Gentrification
Yeah.
of the houses, like it's cookie cutter.
there's a lot of goblins. There's a lot of the goblins. They're one of the, I think probably one of the larger like populations.
And it helps because they're so small. There's like more of them that can fill up that space. so-
Exactly. And they tend to use their space well by, of course, buildings that allow them many to live in there. But yeah, so that's what the goblins look like and the inspiration behind them. Now, I also want to go into accessories because accessories kind of ties into history. So,
Yes. So sorry, our screen just froze, but I think it was still recording. I think we're good. We'll listen in post and see what happened, but
okay. Anyways, so we're
our
going to go
recording
into...
screen just froze. That's fine.
Oh, lovely. That's great.
Okay. Anyway, continue. What were you saying? I needed to look up something. Continue on with what you were saying.
All right, so let's go back into accessories. So the accessories ties into the history a bit. So of course, as we've stated multiple times now, the way mirrors work in this world is their technology. It's their TVs, it's their cell phones, etc. That's how they work. Now, of course, like I said, I based them off 1950 styles just because that is the territory, like, style that they live in. So, like, every accessory is going to mirror that. But, mirror that, okay. But, I'm so,
You're so punny. It's fine.
I didn't even mean to. Anyways, now, goblins were the ones that actually originally came up with the idea for the mirror. They realized that they could kind of add some magical components to it to make it work the way it works.
Right, and they because inherently goblins are not a magical people group, they ended up teaming up with a fairy who's it was okay, so the guy that created it, his name was Wiz. Wiz was the goblin, and Wiz I'm sorry, the name is funny to me.
Yes.
Wiz teamed up with a fairy named Roland, and using Roland's magic and Wiz's technology, they created the idea for the mirror. Now, this happened after the Great Key Change. This is this is in the past 50-year history of Harmonia.
Yes. It probably happened not long after the Great Key Change.
And then once they realized, okay, this is a thing, this can work. It was taken to the Dwarven community
Because the dwarves have more resources to actually create these things. Like, they can mass produce, basically.
And now I do believe we touched a little bit on this in the Dwarven podcast episode, which was last week's episode.
They took it to Stefan Hobbs.
Stefan Hobbs.
And Stefan Hobbs took it and ran with it.
Took it and ran with it. So Stefan Hobbs of the Dwarves took the idea of Wiz to create this magic phone, magic TV, and
Basically a whole technology system that has now since this has been, like, somewhere around 50 years later has truly developed into a very similar version of our technology today.
Like the Apple phone or the TV or the, what have you.
You know.
Yes, you know.
You know.
You know.
Anyways, so that's how a lot of that history plays into it. And this will like be a big part of the show.
We really do focus on this area on the map, like the fairies, the goblins, the dwarves, like this whole group.
To be fair, we focus on everything,
We
but
do.
everything has its time. This won't actually take place until later in
Like
the show.
season 3, I think.
Yes,
This is like one of
because
the
this is on
last.
the back part of the map.
So, because we follow the map like along the route that it would be. Like they don't just hop all over the map; they literally go in a circle. So because
No, wait. I think that might be season 2. I would have to go back and look at our notes, but
I think it's season 3. Pretty sure. Tell them about their sexuality and
Okay, we'll talk
their
about that.
music while I look it up.
So sexuality. Goblins are fluid. So they go for pretty much anyone. It just depends on what's right for them.
Oh, it is season 2.
See, I thought so, because we have
That's
another
right.
big issue in season 3.
I could have
And
sworn
this
this
is a
was, like,
very
the
major
last-
part of season 2, but it's like towards the end of season 2.
Yes, it is towards the end of season 2. Okay.
Aren't we great? So many notes.
Oh my god. If anybody could just see this frickin' Excel chart that I have, no.
It's massive.
You would get a headache.
We have, well, not only do we have multiple Excel charts. Anyways, we're getting off topic.
Anyway,
So,
yes. So they
Goblins are fluid sexual, and their song and dance, if I'm not mistaken, was it?
It's rap.
Yeah, it was American rap. Mm-hmm. So
It's very much
that street style,
Yes.
which works so perfectly for them.
so yeah, that's the basics of the
Yes.
goblins, I would say. They're the inventive community. They're very smart. They've not always had the means to create what they want, so they have resorted to thievery in the past. Now, however, okay, so before the Great Key Change, King Thane, who is the king of Harmonia, the one that created the Key Change, the Alliance, and all
Yeah,
that,
the one who created the Alliance.
he, I don't even know where I was going with that.
See, when he approached the Goblin territory, he realized the potential they had. Yes, they
That's
were
it.
known as thieves, but he realized how ingenious they were, especially when it came to the airship. He was like, wow, this would be useful. So when he came to the territory, his proposition to them was, look, I do need, your thieving is not okay, because, like, now that I have all these other territories,
You're basically stealing from me.
yes, so I would like to proposition that you join us. We will give you the resources you need, and you can continue to create, and you can help us grow Harmonia.
Exactly, and the castle then starts funding certain projects like the airship so that they can grow in their inventiveness.
So that they don't have to keep stealing. They literally are given what they need, and they
They prosper from it.
they prosper, and then they give back, because everything is a work. When it comes to the Harmonia territories, everything is a working relationship. Each territory provides something that another cannot.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the. There's so much. Okay.
There's a lot we cannot talk about because spoilers and
Yeah.
plot, and we're trying to keep it mostly to obviously
the history that we don't see in the show. That's what we're trying to tell you guys with this podcast, which I know I've mentioned before.
we always mention it, but it's a good thing to be a reminder, because we try not to go into plot stuff. If we do go into plot stuff, it's minor stuff that doesn't affect any kind of spoilers. It isn't something so like major or anything like that it's going to surprise you. It's just like, the word mundane is not the word I want to use, but it's the
No.
word that comes into my head.
It's the history of all these territories without giving away spoilers of the show.
I will say the history is one of my favorite parts to discuss, just because we don't always have the time to dive into things. Yes, we will have little flashbacks here and there of things, but we don't have the time to like delve into it because there's so much happening in the show. Like, we don't.
And when it comes to writing the story, it really helps to know the background of what these people went through before they're at this point now. Because, like, if you just jump into the story of, okay, the goblins are inventors, okay, how did they get to this point? Like,
Yeah.
what, and it helps shape their character, it helps shape the way they interact with other people groups. And so, creating this history, like, we just had, what time did we sit down? Like, 8:30 this morning.
We were talking for
from
a
like
while.
8:30 to 11:30
'Cause we
about
had
just
a-
the history of the goblins.
We had a general idea for how we wanted to approach them, but we weren't sure.
It wasn't as fleshed out as it needed to be to give you guys the history of the goblins and to give us
Yes.
a good idea.
We have to
and-
pace ourselves when it comes to writing, because like we have the concept, we have the characters, now we have to get into world building. And I will say world building is my favorite part of this.
It's so much fun because you can just sit there and theorize all day long and just be like, okay, if this happens, how would it affect this? And if this happened, how would it affect that?
Because we will generally talk about different scenarios, be like, okay, well, which one sounds like it would work better, or which one sounds more interesting. Like, it's a process. Like, writing is a process, but it is a fun and sometimes grueling process.
And it really does change and shape the way the show it becomes, like the outcome of the show. It really just changes that in a way.
Yes.
Like, we originally started out the show as just like a happy-go-lucky Disney musical about all the different types of sexualities, and while that is still for the most part a thing,
It's a major part of the show, but there was no, like,
there was no
background.
point. There was like not really a point to it.
Oh yeah, there's been so much evolution when it comes to how we first developed the show. Because at first we didn't even have half the cast that we do. Like they were there, but they were background characters, and
They didn't
go
have
on
a
the journey.
purpose. They didn't have they were just there because Mary Beth liked to design from a past drawing that she had, and she just
Look,
wanted to throw it into the show.
I love digging up past stuff and making it look better. Because some of the I
But
love character designing. It's
you
my,
do,
It's my forte.
But when it comes to writing a show, you can't just toss a character in there because you
Yes,
like how
I
they
know.
look. And so
But now everybody has a purpose.
everyone has a purpose because like pretty much every day we sit down and we are like, okay, this is what we're focusing on today, this character or this people group, and we really just hash it out and give it this full history. And so it's gone from like a happy-go-lucky Disney musical style show to it mirrors our world so much. We
It
deal
does.
with a lot of like the political things that we're dealing with currently in this show, and we put it in like a more like on the nose kind of a light, if that makes sense.
That's a good way to describe that.
So like without giving anything away, I would say like the dwarves, the goblins, and the fairies very much mirror the American dream aesthetic.
Yes.
We've got like the 1%, the elite, the upper class,
The middle
class,
class, the
lower
lower
class, the ones that are like super underappreciated. We have all of that in there without giving anything away, that you will actually be able to see in the show.
Yes.
And the
And you'll be able to
goblins
see it
play.
from everyone's point of view too.
You will. And the goblins play like a huge part in this because they're kind of like like you said, the industrial revolution, the technological revolution. They bring all this change about, and so they are pretty important to.
They are, and
Harmonia as a
I
whole.
want to just go ahead and just like as a preface this. I'm bad at pronunciation. Anyways, the goblins are not a bad people. They
No.
did what they did to survive, and you're gonna actually find there's a few different territories and races that have to do things. Not like that specifically, but they have to do certain things in order to survive during the time before the Great Key Change. Everything after the Great Key Change kind of has made the
Helped
world
them?
prosper, or at least the Harmonian Isles.
Oh, there was something I was going to mention, but then it just flew out of my head. I feel like today we're just super spacey.
Yeah, today has been kind of a spacey day. Yesterday was just a bad day for me, but today I'm like more mellow, but like
Did we mention Kabbalah?
we didn't, and I was about to say.
Okay,
So I was
that's
getting
what
into
I was
there
thinking.
somewhere. All right, so let's go into Zodiac.
Okay, so their zodiac, of course, is goblin-esque, because most of the creatures, actually all the creatures, are mirrored after their zodiac creator. So Kabbalah is our goblin zodiac.
And he's one of our new ones too. He's another new one. So
Yes. So his zodiac is one that we created specifically for the show.
yeah, so now I think we've showcased 3 brand new ones.
Sure.
Yeah, because this is number 6. We've done 3 that are new and 3 that are old. Because we started off with Libra, and then we went into
Virgo,
Virgo,
and then Taurus.
Taurus, and now we
we've got
have
Arbor, Kabbalah, and Malleus.
Yes. So, and Kabbalah, oh shoot, what was his whole thing? Because Kabbalah meant something and something. I'm pretty sure it was Latin. There was a reason we named him Kabbalah.
It has something to do with goblin people. I'm not entirely sure why we picked that name. We
Was it-
should have written that
Wait,
one
was it
down.
like because of the coin? Was it a coin? I think we did write it down, didn't we?
We wrote down the name. We didn't write down why we chose that name.
I remember-
We're terrible at keeping notes.
Because we'll talk about things and we'll go on a tangent and then we'll forget to write
Because half the time we're like in the car when we're discussing
we're in the
this.
car or we're having like a wine night where we're just sipping
Just
and
sipping and
enjoying
forgetting
and just talking, and then it gets into that and then we never think to write it down because we're either
Just tired or in a place where we don't have pen and paper, or we're just
we're not
like,
thinking about it.
we're not thinking about it. We're just talking about it, discussing it. And it's not even like a scheduled meeting. And so we just kind
Exactly.
of forget like, ooh, we need to
Because
write this down.
we're roommates, so we spend a fair amount of our time together, but like we have scheduled meetings, but we also will just talk about it because it's something that we both love and are interested in, and it just happens. So like half of our best stuff comes from the non-meetings actually.
It's sad. But
We don't write things down.
so why we named him
Alright.
Cabalus, I cannot for the life of me remember at the moment. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
I remember when
eventually,
we were
but-
coming up with the name, or we were researching things that would make sense for that, because like each zodiac has either a symbol or something. They're like there's a reason they're named after it. I
me
think
just-
it
you know
means
what?
coin or
What
something.
I'm typing on my computer. I'm sorry for the click clacks.
Click clack.
Cobal. How do you spell Cabalus?
K.
C.
Oh. I'm pretty sure it was a
It was
K.
a C.
Was it a C?
Anyway, talk about how he deals with his people.
So
While I
Cabalus
look
is
this up.
very removed from his people. He kind of fell by the wayside in a way just because he himself just his people are kind of like this project that was like one and done. Once he made them, he really didn't want to have much to do with them, and the goblins themselves don't have much to do with him.
I'm an idiot. It's fine. It's literally the origin of goblin. It's French.
Wow.
I just typed in, what does Copalis mean? Origin of goblin. So yes, that's why we...
Well, and I completely messed that up. Okay, I do think we were looking up different items, and coin was one of them, so we were looking up stuff about
Probably.
coins, and that's why I remember that.
Copalis, rogue, knave, goblin.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I also like how it sounds like kobold, and kobold is a type of like creature. I don't know.
But like
Cabalus.
each name for the zodiac tends to like kind of mirror either it's a zodiac that already existed in our world, or like with Malleus means hammer, and like the Dwarven people are like miners, so it fits.
Arbor means tree. They live in the trees, literally.
So we're very literal with our naming.
We're not creative at all.
It's fine.
And it's like we've said, we've used multiple different languages to pull names from.
because writing our own language is not something either of us would be good at.
No.
So we're pulling from like Latin.
I have skills.
Greek.
I don't have those kinds of skills.
I have a
Plus,
certain
it's
set of skill
fun
set.
to just look up, ooh, what does this mean in this language? Because I find languages fascinating. They're so
Yeah.
fascinating. But that's Cabalus. So Cabalus, as I said, very removed. His style, I decided, obviously he has the 1950s style too, but I decided to give him the greaser look because he just doesn't care about anything.
He's very much like he's hot-tempered. He doesn't really participate. He kind of like is like the rebel of the zodiac grouping.
Yes. Because the Zodiacs, do you want to go into how their system works? Or do you want to save that?
Let's save that for another episode. We're getting kind of close to the end of this one, and it's like a big history for the zodiacs. So
Good
look
point.
for that in another episode. It'll probably be after we finish going through all of the territories.
Yeah, we can make it its own episode because the Zodiacs have such an extensive thing going for them. But yeah,
I will mention, good news for us.
yes.
So not only are we creating musically challenges because we love animating, we've officially created our own business, and it is legit.
Literal Studios. I'm so excited about this because we decided to go ahead and file for an LLC, and we decided to call our studio Ethereal Studios. Now, no, it is not pronounced, or it's not.
ETH.
It's not ethereal. It's not ethereal. It's
Ethereal. It's based off of the name of a wine.
So the wine is a Greek wine called Etheri. Mm-hmm. So add AL to that, and you've got Ethereal.
Ethereal Studios. And now I'm very proud of Ethereal Studios because what we plan on doing with this is so many companies, especially in the creative industry,
Yes.
require X many years of
Experience.
previous experience,
Even
and
for entry
entry
levels.
level jobs. And like Mary Beth and I both moved out here from Tennessee and Mississippi to California to be in the creative industry, but when all of these places need experience, and the only way you can get experience is through unpaid full-time internships, and you still need to have a full-time job to support yourself because California is expensive. You
Don't start
can't
crying.
I'm not gonna cry. You can't get that experience, at least not easily.
No.
So our idea with this company is that if you want to break into the creative industry, but you don't have time for both a full-time internship and a full-time job, you can work for us. And we will, because this business is official, you can officially put us down as you worked for this animation studio. You did animation, you did background work, you did voice work, what have you. And we will give you that experience in an entry-level job without requiring 3 years of experience prior. So that way when you do go to another company, if you decide to go to work for like Disney or DreamWorks or what have you, you will have that experience to put on your
Yes.
resume.
You can no longer say that you're just an entry level.
Exactly. So you will have that experience you need. And now we're not only doing, like, yes, our focus right now is Musically Challenged, but we have at least 3 other shows in the works. We have a show called Got Ghost, which what would you say, like
It's Scooby-Doo mixed with
Danny Phantom. Yeah, like a Saturday morning cartoon. That's a lot of fun. We've been working on that for like 3 years now.
Yeah, that one's a very cute project. It deals with some heavy issues, but not as heavy as some of our stuff that we have in some of our other shows. It's a bit more lighthearted and fun.
It's like the Steven universe. Like children like it, but adults like it too. Like Scooby-Doo,
Yes.
like Danny Phantom. It's geared towards children, but with adult themes to it, so that both generations can enjoy it. And then we
Yes.
have a show called Mad.
Which that one we've been working on since high school.
Since high school, got the transformation that Mad has gone through to get where it is today.
No, we will never speak of the original. We have promised ourselves that we will never, ever speak of the original ever again. It's
But
gone, it's dead,
through
goodbye.
a massive transformation to get where it is today, and it deals with like Alice in Wonderland and mental health, and that project, it still requires a ton more research and history and all that sort of stuff. So that one will be like the 3rd show probably that we introduce.
Yes, that
to
one
Ethereal Studios.
Needs a bit more work just because of the style choices we're going to be doing. So we're going to be putting that towards the back just because it's probably going to have our biggest budget.
Yes, and then we have a show that'll kind of focus on like the Zodiacs that we're mentioning in Musically Challenged, because there is such a history to them. They're such a fascinating creature group that we really want to dive into them. And then I think we may even bring in an old animation that Mary Beth did.
Yeah, I have an older project that I did back in college that I actually did for my senior project, and I would like to develop that into a show because I made that a pilot originally.
Yes, and it was a really interesting idea. So down the road, that'll probably be a lot later because that needs a lot more developing.
Yes.
But
we have things in the works, and eventually we're going to have more, because we are always coming up with ideas. Always.
It's such a bad habit of us because, like, we'll sit there and be like, oh, this is a great idea for a show. And it's like, no. We have, like, 5 shows we're trying to create right now.
Yes. We've had some fall by the wayside here and there. Who knows? We might pick some things back up.
Possibly. But all that to say, we are an official studio, Ethereal Studios. I'm working on getting our website up now so you can kind of take a look at that. And we're hiring. We want people to come work for us, people who don't have the experience needed to get into DreamWorks animation, what have you. We're looking for background artists, composers, choreographers, animators. Like we keep saying in every episode, we are looking for people. Now we're going to be doing fundraisers, looking for grants, things like that.
We're working on getting the money so that we can actually pay people. Because
we don't want to ask people to work for us for free.
No.
Obviously, especially now that we are an official company, we cannot ask people to work for us for free. We are working for free.
Yes.
But people that we hire under us will not be. And we really want to just have this be like a safe, great work environment for people to build their resume.
Yeah, basically.
And help us realize our dreams of being showrunners.
Pretty much. So we're starting the studios not only to help us, but also to help other people out there so they can get that experience.
And so we're really excited about that moving forward. And I know this episode was supposed to be about goblins, and we kind of
We went by the wayside a couple of times.
very spacey day.
It's one of those days.
Mercury in retrograde or something. I don't know. But yeah, so that's the goblins. That's Kobalas. That's the city of Trilkin and their kind of history, or as much as we can really get into it without giving away show spoilers.
Yes.
That is the update on our
Everything.
everything. And even though we are an official business, our office is my closet. Eventually we'll get out of it.
That would be nice.
We'll have our own space. It's fine.
I would love to have a studio, like a real... I'm daydreaming. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I think this episode ran a couple minutes over than what we intended, but thank you for sticking around. And next week we'll be talking about fairies.
Yes. The cute little fairies.
They're so sweet. All right. So thanks, guys. And don't forget to audition. Go to our musicallychallenged.show.com. Go to the cast and crew. Click on the character you want to audition for. There's an audition sheet in there. Send it our way. There's multiple ways to contact us. It's all on the website. So please do that. We're really excited about this, and we're excited. We love looking at these videos. So thank you guys so much. And
we'll see
y'all
you in the
have a great
next
day.
episode.
All right.
Or that too.
Yes. See you in
Have
the
a
next
gr-
episode. Have a great day. What have you.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.